I've had people walk out on me before, but not when I was being so charming. Well, maybe you were being walked out on, Mr. Harrison Ford, because in 1982, Blade Runner hit the screens. Hello, Mike Dorigo here once again to do a missing reel, and this is a special missing reel. This is my absolute favorite film of all time. Of course, that would be Blade Runner. And I didn't see it in the theaters. I wanted to see it in the theaters. I didn't know much about it, except that it had Harrison Ford. And at that point, like, really, what more did you need? But it was getting panned by critics, and audiences were apparently walking out of the theater. Why? What could be so bad? I mean, it's like we just had this insatiable craving for Han Solo, because you remember maybe at the time, early 80s, Han was still frozen in carbonite. We didn't know what was going to happen to him, and we just had Empire Strikes Back, and we were like cliffhanging for 3 years until Jedi came out. So we were just figuring, hey, it's Han Solo, man. He's in space. He's flying around in some future car and shit. Let's go see it. He's going to start zapping stormtroopers and bust out of the carbonite and go slap Lando around a little bit. But it ain't like that. No. It was like a dark, slow, film noirish, Sam Spade kind of dismal future kind of movie. It was weird. We didn't expect that shit. Now, I finally did see it on cable TV, probably like HBO or WHT or one of those old channels, and at that point I was just captivated by the action sequences, and there's not a lot of them. It's really slow moving movie, and it took me so long to really learn how to appreciate this film, and having seen it now probably at least 60-70 times, I don't know, but a lot, let's just say, I really love it. It's it's become like the classic perfect film that everyone touts it as now. But going back to its source material, that would be a 1968 book by Philip K. Dick, and this was entitled "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" Oh, how clever. So at some point I did read that, but it had the Blade Runner cover on it because it had been like re-released and reissued, and more popular culture would embrace that. But Philip K. Dick was a brilliant science fiction author, and a lot of his works have been adapted into films like Minority Report and Total Recall and The Man in the High Castle. And a lot of great books he's written. I read a couple of them, like Ubik is really amazing. Seriously, if you're not familiar with all these great writings and you don't know Dick, gotta read them. Good stuff. So the movie is sort of adapted loosely from the book. One thing in the book that they didn't use in the movie, and I'm kind of, I don't miss it. There's like this sort of religious figure called Mercer, and everybody in society is kind of like plugging into this VR thing on their TV, and they have to follow Mercer as he climbs up this mountain, and rocks are being thrown down at him, and you get pelted with the rocks, and you get hit, and you actually feel the pain with him. Yeah, it's like stupider than Candy Crush, man. But the movie itself, of course, directed by Ridley Scott, one of the greats. He had just come off of directing my other favorite sci-fi movie, probably, Alien. And prior to that, he had done The Duelists. And of course, later on in his career, he would make some of the best movies ever, man. And, we got like Black Rain and Gladiator, Thelma and Louise, and even Legend. I'll let that one slide because that was, pretty to look at and very Ridley-ish at the same time. So Ridley Scott's on board. Yeah, we have the movie poster looked kind of cool because you see like this sort of a space car and a city. It kind of looked like Coruscant. So like, yeah, more Star Wars hinting, right? Like this could be like Star Wars, right? Maybe Cloud City. And I just wanted something like that. And I'm sure that's what the rest of the audiences wanted. But no, you don't get that. The movie just has like a poster with the Harrison Ford holding a gun and some woman with a smoking cigarette. It could just look like some boring ass detective movie, and that's basically what it is for the whole first hour. But anyway, the film opens with this crawl telling you what's going on, like the Blade Runner units or the police, and they have to exterminate all these renegade androids called replicants. So it's a crawl, and it doesn't go backwards into space. So already it's kind of like, it's not Star Warsy enough. But it opens with this huge explosion and this beautiful music, man, composed by the Greek New Age artist Vangelis. Now, his name is really a lot longer than that. It's this big, long-ass Greek name like Vangelis Papasmurphalophagus or some shit. It's hard to pronounce. Somebody I knew once called him Vaginus. But anyway, look, man, Vangelis, whatever you call him, he's way better than fucking Yanni. He won an Oscar in '81 for his Chariots of Fire theme. I'm sure you heard that all over the radio back then. But seriously, man, the Blade Runner soundtrack is peak. It like trumps that fucking Chariots of Fire. It's awesome. Best soundtrack ever. So I love the music. It's all twinkly and synthy. And of course, I wanted to get the soundtrack of Blade Runner once I started to love this movie. And the only thing available was this really crap recording by the New American Orchestra. Some sort of issue with Vangelis and the licensing of the music or whatever, and some disagreements and publishing. So New American Orchestra records a kind of like really lame-ass sort of orchestral Blade Runner score, and it's just not up to snuff. But finally in 94, the Vangelis official release came out, and then in 2007 we got like a nice 25th anniversary 3 CD collection, which is awesome, and you should have it. And you should be listening to it immediately after or during my podcast, but you'll probably hear little bits of that shit, as we go along, because it's good. So Blade Runner opens. It's like the Tyrell Corporation's this big building, and they're having like an HR meeting. They're like kind of like they're interviewing their new employees to see if any of them are replicants, if they're robots. And the first one is Leon, played by Brian James, who you'll probably remember from Tango and Cash, Fifth Element. He was even in Flesh and Blood with his Blade Runner co-star Rutger Hauer, which is pretty cool. So anyway, Leon's getting his HR interview or whatever it is, and they're just trying to piss him off with this test, the Voight-Kampff test, and they're asking him a lot of questions. It goes like, you look down and you see a tortoise, Leon. It's crawling toward you. Tortoise? What's that? You know what a turtle is? Same thing. You flip the tortoise over its back, making the hot sun, turns over again, but you're not helping. Why are you not helping? They're questions. It's a test designed to provoke an emotional response. Shall we continue? Tell me in single words only the good thing is coming to your mind about your mother? My mother? I'll tell you about my mother. My mother was the ship's computer on the Nostromo, you fuck. More about that later. Yeah, so anyways, that's the only violence you'll see for a while. And outside, it's like all these like billboards lighting up, and it's like ships flying around, but it's raining. It's raining all the time, man. This is supposed to be Los Angeles in 2019, and there's nothing but rain. And, you should just, if somebody just like bought stock in an umbrella company, they'd be all fit. Yeah, they'd be like sitting on top of the world. Maybe that's the Umbrella Corporation from Resident Evil, perhaps. Is in here somewhere. We don't know, but there's a lot of umbrellas, there's a lot of people, it's crowded. There's blimps going by advertising, new rifle, it's you, the awful. That's annoying, but we see Harrison Ford finally at the beginning sitting there reading a newspaper. They don't advertise for killers in a newspaper. This is his voiceover, which you're going to hear throughout the movie if you watch the shitty version that showed in theaters, and probably why critics hated it. That was my profession. Ex-cop, ex-Blade Runner, ex-killer. Also, to be noted, ex-carpenter, ex-archaeologist, ex-smuggler, ex-scoundrel. All right, enough of this. Yeah, I like your CV. So Deckard's eating his noodles, and he gets picked up by Gaff and taken to Bryant's police station where he used to work, and he finds out that there's all these renegade androids that busted out of some colony somewhere. Now they're running loose on the planet Earth, so he has to go out and hunt them down. That's his job. He needs some practice, I guess. So he has to go to Tyrell Corporation, and he has to meet one of their replicants and test her to see if his Voight-Kampff's interviewing skills are still good. So he goes to the Tyrell Corporation, and he meets Rachel, played by Sean Young, and she greets him. Do you like her out? I got a better one. And then she introduces him to Dr. Eldon Tyrell, who's like the creator of the replicants, and he's played by Joe Turkel, who you've probably seen as Lloyd the bartender in The Shining. And according to something written in the Future Noir, The Making of Blade Runner, Joe Turkel just couldn't learn his lines for shit. He was actually reading cue cards on camera, and you could even watch his eyes behind those octagonal spectacles he's wearing. And you'll see, he's reading cue cards. He does have some tough dialogue given, but... So anyways, Deckard has to test Rachel. So he sets up his little Voight-Kampff machine, looks like an accordion flapping up and down with a little lens that you look into, and he asks her all these really personal and annoying questions. You're reading a magazine, and you come across a full-page nude photo of your mother with a tortoise. Is this testing whether I got another question for you. You find out Tim Burton's making a Batman movie. You send him an audition tape with a homemade Catwoman costume. You become the laughingstock of Hollywood. What is this shit? You're at Jim Carrey, and he bends you over and shows you have a big bulge in your panties. You're a man. Mr. Deckard, You're in the movie Dune. Would you excuse us for a few minutes, Rachel? She's a replicant, isn't she? I'm impressed. How many questions does it usually say? I don't get it, Tyrell. How many questions? 20, 30, cross-reference. It took more than 100 for Rachel. Yeah, I thought her batteries were going to go dead. Jeez. But you built her pretty good. In the meantime, we have to find out what's going on. Deckard is like poking around, and he's with his partner Gaff, who was basically good at nothing except making origami stick figures. So they look around Leon's apartment, and they go into this scuzzy bathtub. They find a scale, they find some Polaroids, and then the voiceover has to help us figure out what the fuck's going on. Whatever was in the bathtub was not human. Replicants don't have scales. In family photos, replicants didn't have cameras either. Then we see another replicant, Roy Batty, hanging out with Leon. Roy Batty, of course, played by Rutger Hauer, one of the greatest. The Hitcher, Nighthawks, Lady Hawk, some other Hawk movies, I guess, Flesh and Blood. He was Barlow in a Salem's Lot remake. Greatest, man. Yeah, they go visit James Hong at Eye World, where they don't sell glasses, they don't sell contacts, they sell eyes. Genetic design, just eyes. So Batty walks in, and they crash his little shop. Fiery the angels fell. Deep thunder rode around their shoes. Hey, the poetry slams across the street, pal. And then Leon's poking his hands into the ice pack with the, hey, Salakada, Beijing, those are my eyes. Hey, your sushi buffet is around the corner. Now what the hell you guys want? They want to find Tyrell, the maker of the replicants, because they got to figure out if they have an expiration date. They have a 4-year lifespan, and they're a little bit pissed about that. So he wants to find Tyrell, and he's trying to. They take off James Hong's coat, so he starts freezing in there. Questions, I don't know answers. Tyrell, he big boss, he big genius. Not an easy man to seek, I guess. All right, well, you just cut to the chase. I give you his address. Now get the fuck out of here and turn the heater back on. Poor James Hong. He's great. He's awesome. So Deckard goes home after his long, boring day in the rain and picking out scales from scuzzy bathtubs, and Rachel scares the shit out of him. She's at his house, and they have a little conversation, and he pisses her off even further. He doesn't get lucky. He blows his whole chance there. He just annoys her, and she's crying because she's not human. Ironic, but true. And then out in the street, we see yet another of the 4 replicants that Deckard is hunting. This is Pris, played by Daryl Hannah, who, of course, you've definitely seen in Splash, and you probably saw her in Kill Bill. Really awesome. Love her, too. She's great. And she's wandering around. She's like kind of like a weird kind of punk rock sort of homeless chick, and she stumbles across J.F. Sebastian's apartment. Now, this is probably not a coincidence. J.F. Sebastian has ties to Tyrell. He's just some dude who makes robots and a little bit of genetic design bullshit. So she meets him and she runs off, she pretends to run off, and she slips and kind of like bangs into this window of a garbage truck and kind of hurts her elbow. And in actual shooting, Daryl Hannah did injure her elbow in this scene, and it prevented her from doing her own gymnastics in a pivotal action sequence later on. Little trivia for you. So J.F. Sebastian takes her upstairs. He's got all these little toys and these little mannequins and shit and whatever. He cleans her up a bit. Deckard is at home photoshopping, trying to figure out where these replicants are, what they look like. He goes wandering in the streets, all crowded. Get this camel out of my way, and all kinds of shit going on. It's like a food market for like the entire United Nations all on one street. It's crazy. So he has his scale analyzed. The woman goes, "Not fish, snake scale."
Snakes. Why did it have to be snakes?
Goes to Taffy Lewis's skeevy bar. That's where the snakes are. And there's some dancer who uses the snake. And Taffy Lewis is this really sleazy bar owner guy. And he just has 3 lines in the movie. "You ever buy snakes from the Egyptian, Taffy?" "All the time, pal." "You ever seen this girl?"
"Never seen a buzz off."
"Your license is in order, pal."
"Hey, Louie, the man is dry. Give him one on the house. See ya."
And Ridley Scott loved this guy's performance so much he didn't even ask him for a take 2. And Ridley Scott is notorious for having multiple, sometimes double-digit takes. So hats off to High Pike for playing Taffy Lewis. Anyway, this dancing snake chick is Zora, played by Joanna Cassidy. Yeah, you might know her from Who Framed Roger Rabbit and John Carpenter's Ghosts of Mars, among other stuff. And she's in her dressing room, and she's naked, which is great. But Deckard has to come up with some sort of alter ego to sort of like sneak in there and talk to her and figure out if she's really the replicant that he thinks she is. So he puts on this comical, stupid voice.
"Hey, Miss Salome, can I talk to you for a minute? I'm from the American Federation of Variety Artists. Actually, I'm with the Confidential Committee on Moral Abuses. Moral abuses? All right, I'm a pervert. Is that a real tit? Of course it's not real. You think I'd be working in a place like this if I could afford real tits?
So she gets mad at him, she chokes him, punches him out, knocks his ass down, and she runs into the crowded streets, and everything's all chaotic out there. Deckard's chasing her all over the place, and there's crowds, and don't walk, don't walk, don't walk. Hare, 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 hare. And pretty much everything else. Stand clear of the closing doors, please. And then car alarms, so anything. It's just so fucking annoying. So he finally tracks her down where she's running, and he shoots at her. And he shoots her a bunch of times. And every time he shoots her, right through a plate glass window in slow motion with Vangelis music. It's really pretty, but it's like ridiculous. She hits pretty much every piece of glass on the entire street before she goes down. So Deckard goes and buys a drink. He sees his boss for a second, and then he spots Rachel somewhere. And he's like looking for her, but unfortunately, he gets grabbed by Leon. Oh, shit.
How old am I?
I don't know.
You could have just said that.
Starts beating Deckard's ass.
Nothing is worse than having an itch you can never scratch. Oh, yeah? Have you seen my fourth Indiana Jones Crystal Skull movie?
Wake up. Time to die.
But who dies? Leon. He gets shot by Rachel, who picked up Deckard's slapped-away gun. Now, I love talking about Blade Runner, and it's getting really exciting now, but we just have to pause for this important message. We'll be right back.
Conan, what is best in life? To crush your enemies, see them driven before you, and listen to Missing Real podcast.
Missing Real with Mike Dorigo, the only podcast listened to by Crom. Check local listings. All right, we're back. Back to Blade Runner. You know, I need advertising. It's important. You got to have sponsorship. You know, you got to let other people peddle their wares and so on. So back to Blade Runner. Rachel and Deckard are back at Deckard's place. Finally, he has a second chance. And this time he actually does get lucky with it. But it sure does take a lot of, fotzing around, a lot of dialogue, and, would you come after me if I ran away? Nah, just stay here, play my piano, and let's have sex against the Venetian blinds. All right, that's good. It's great. The love theme, very pretty Vangelis music, very nice. So meantime, while that's getting on, J.F. Sebastian has Pris at his house, and she's spray painting her face to look like all of his toys and clowns and things, and he thinks he's going to get lucky with her, too. And she's like, I like you just the way you are. Hi, Roy. And then Rutger Hauer shows up, and JF's like, "Aw, damn, you lay that Mr. Rogers shit on me? You think I'm gonna get me some tail? I'll go make you some breakfast." Gosh, you really got some nice toys here. Yeah, they're okay. Starts making out with Pris and annoying JF. So, anyway, JF is like,
I do genetic design work for the Tyrell Corporation. There's some of me and you. Show me something.
We're no computers, Sebastian. We're physical.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. I wanted to see your dick. How big is it? Is it made of iron? Just curious,
Anyway, they coerce him into bringing Batty, Rutger Hauer, to meet his maker, going to Tyrell's. They fake him out with some bullshit chess move that there's no way JF could ever figure out. So they get up the elevator, they see the owl, and then Tyrell is there in his bathrobe, and he's like, I'm surprised you didn't come here sooner. And then Batty's like, it's not an easy thing to meet your maker.
And what could he do for you?
Bourbon on the rocks. Nah, I'm just kidding. I want more life, fucker. Tyrell just feeds him some bullshit.
You were made as well as we could make you, but not to last. The light that burns twice as bright burns half as long. And besides, the Nexus 7's come out next week. It's good for business.
And then poor Tyrell, he doesn't know what to do because, replicants are defective. The Nexus 6 series, they only have a 4-year lifespan. He's trying to explain this shit. He's getting all nervous, and they're having this big debate. And poor Joe Turkel, he's still reading his cue cards. But his lines are fucking hard, right? Like,
we've already tried it. Ethyl methane sulfonate is an alkylating agent, potent mutagen, and wouldn't obstruct replication, but it does give rise to an error in replication so that the newly formed DNA strand carries a mutation. And can I just say, what'll it be, Mr. Torrance? Women can't live with them, can't live without them. Please, give me some serious, normal lines.
And then pisses off Batty so much. He just grabs his face, squishes his eyes. You don't read the scripts anyway. What do you need those for? And he chases poor little J.F. Sebastian down the elevator. You know he's going to get it, too. And Deckard drives up to the J.F. Sebastian's place. Now, this was shot at the Bradbury Building in downtown L.A., which is a remarkable building. You've seen it in a bunch of movies, probably. It's amazing. Wrought iron stairways, this beautiful skylight. It's just awesome. And, of course, Ridley Scott throws all these spotlights and blimps above it and makes it incredibly awesome. So Deckard goes up all these stairs, and he's looking for whatever replicants he could find. Pris is hiding. She's disguising herself as a toy. You know, Deckard's going through all these clowns and laughing mannequins and shit, and you know, it's kind of easy to pick her out. I mean, she's the one with the nice rack. They have a big fight, and she kicks him and does all these flips. Although it's not really her doing the flip, and it's a little male gymnast dude. Remember, she injured her elbow earlier in the shoot. But anyway, she lands on him and lands on his shoulders and grabs his head between her legs and twists his face around. And basically, this is a pretty interesting way to get a fight going on. But Deckard's not having much of it because he's getting smacked and he's getting his nose picked and drops his ass on the floor. She runs away, comes back for a second pass, and he shoots her like 3 times. And she's like flipping and spasming. Where's the damn off switch? Dude, man, why'd you do that? I mean, yeah, she's a toaster, she's a robot, but she was an anatomically correct robot. And sheesh, man, you know, she had her interface in your face. That wasn't good? That wasn't working for you? You didn't want to let that go on a little... Whatever, dude. And by the way, that whole Deckard-Pris fight sequence was really similar to the Bambi and Thumper scene from the James Bond movie Diamonds Are Forever. Except in that one, you know, it had a kind of much happier ending. They all end up in a pool. You know, nobody gets shot and has an epileptic fit. So anyway, he kills this really hot robot chick, and Rutger Hauer shows up, and, you know, that's his girlfriend who just got wasted. He's very pissed, and Deckard is just trying to hide now because he's chicken shit. You know, Deckard's not much of a hero. He basically gets his ass handed to him by the women and kills the women, but he can't beat the dudes, if that has any significance whatsoever. So anyway, he shoots at Rutger and he misses, and then he's behind the wall and breaks through the wall, grabs Deckard's hand. Proud of yourself, little man. And he snaps 2 of Deckard's fingers. This is for Zora. This is for Pris. Oh, yeah. And then Deckard takes a knife and he slashes Vatty in the face. This is for Lando. Get that? Dude, Deckard's fingers are broken. You're lucky they were just broken and they didn't end up in somebody's plate of French fries. You know, you got off easy. So they have this big chase around the building, and Rutger's taking all of his clothes off, running around in his underwear. And he starts like painting his face with Daryl Hannah's blood, so they kind of match like when she was in Clan of the Cave Bear. It's like the same look. It's really cool. And he's running around. He's like making these stupid nursery rhymes. You know, 4, 5, hope to stay alive. And he finally meets up with Deckard. He bashes his head through the bathroom wall. You better get it up, or I'm gonna have to kill you. 6, 7, go to hell, go to heaven. That's the spirit. Yeah, so they have a big thing, go up to the roof, Deckard's climbing, he's wet, his fingers are all broken, and they get on the roof and he jumps to another building, and he doesn't quite make it, he's like hanging off this girder, and Batty jumps across the building, and he does make it because he's holding a dove. He lands there, he's looking at Deckard, about to fall off and die, and at the very last second, grabs his hand, lifts him up, this glorious music plays, and Deckard's like, and Batty explains to him the beauty of life in this really nice little monologue right before his expiration date rolls up, and he's gone, and a dove flies away, and it's a really sentimental moment, and you get this damn voiceover. I don't know why he saved my life. Maybe he just couldn't wait to see Return of the Jedi and wanted me to make that next Star Wars and find out how the hell I got out of that carbonite. All I could do was sit there and watch him die. Plus, I didn't have a ride. Well, anyway, he gets a ride. He goes back home. Rachel is still there. She's not dead. He finds this little origami aluminum foil unicorn that means something. And you real Blade Runner fans and acolytes, you all know what it means. So the whole thing ends there, unless you see the shitty version where they go out into the bright daylight and drive through the trees. And it's this footage that was actually cut out from the opening of The Shining. So there's like extra footage there of them driving off into the mountains, probably just to the Overlook Hotel, which I'm sure they'll have even more fun there. And then Rachel and Tyrell could be reunited and share a couple of bourbons or something. It'd be, so, some bourbon and advocaat, maybe. And that was it for Blade Runner, man. And I just I think I covered everything, right? It's a really long and complicated movie. It was a great movie. And, Ridley Scott has recut it several times. It was like the director's cut, and there's a work print and all this other shit. There's a lot of interesting connections and Easter eggs, like that, Blade Runner and Alien franchises take place in the same universe because they have the same, purge readout on their vehicles and ships. There's some information about Captain Dallas, formerly working for Tyrell. It's pretty interesting stuff, Or maybe they just didn't have enough money to build 2 different computer readouts. I don't really know. But hey, man, Ridley Scott, I ain't going to complain. And there's even a moment in Alien Covenant where David is in a fight and gets a nail stuck through his chin. And he says right back to Catherine Waterston, "That's the spirit." So we don't know if he's Nexus 6, or by that point they might be up to Nexus 12s, because, the timeline is really convoluted. Who knows? So what else happened after that? Well, finally, in 2017, there was a long-awaited sequel, Blade Runner 2049. Beautiful, glorious to look at. I still don't really quite understand it completely, but I guess that's why you watch movies 50 times, to finally get them. And it's a really great movie. It's got some Harrison Ford in there, although he doesn't do a whole hell of a lot. He's only in the last bit of the movie, the last act. And there's another cool connection in there too, the Alien universe connections. And it's that Wallace, who is sort of like a pupil of Tyrell, is the new designer of the replicants. And in his building there, where he's housing all of the prototypes and replicant bodies and stuff, you actually see one of the engineers from Prometheus. So that's really cool Easter egg, man. Love that shit. Any kind of eggs in Alien movies is great, but Easter eggs are even better. Then there was finally the final cut of Blade Runner, where Ridley did a whole bunch of fixes and things, like he gets Harrison Ford's mouth to move properly along with the dialogue in the scene when he's talking to the snake guy, Abdul Ben Hassan. But it was actually Harrison Ford's son, Ben, because he has a very similar mouth, and I think they just pasted on a prosthetic, birthmark or whatever on his little scar thing on Harrison Ford's chin, so it would really match. And they also had Joanna Cassidy come back and do some more reshoots, or I think they just pasted her head onto the stunt woman who kept crashing through all the glass windows in her getting shot scene. So that fixed a few little, inconsistencies with Blade Runner, which, honestly, we really never really noticed that much anyway. But hey, you can always, as long as he doesn't George Lucas and fuck up the whole movie that we love, all good for me, man. A few last words about Blade Runner and stuff. Of course, I really do have to say something about Rutger Hauer, because just a couple of weeks before I recorded this, Rutger Hauer passed away, and we lost a great actor and a great person. And I think that you should all take a look at his Starfish Association charity, which I just donated to actually today. And no, it doesn't benefit Starfish, but it has a much worthier human cause, and I think it's a great legacy to leave behind along with all of his film work. The words will echo on for eternity, I'm sure.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Stallone and Drag?
Attack ships on fire off the shore of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the darkness at 10 House of Gate.
And you didn't take pictures?
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
Or fingers and fries, right? Okay, well, gosh, we'll miss you, Rutger Hauer. And Blade Runner, this movie, well, we'll keep on watching it and probably discovering even more amazing things about it. And there might actually even be a third Blade Runner movie, some rumor has it. So let's keep our fingers crossed and hope it doesn't blow. And I guess that's about it for this very special episode of Missing Real. I hope you liked it, and I hope I didn't void conf you and screw with your emotions too much, but that's what it's all about. So hopefully we'll be hearing more Missing Real real soon with another cool episode of a movie we all love and or hate. So thanks for listening, and come back again soon. See ya.